Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. The case that I'm going to look into today is the unsolved murder of Kelly Cook. Kelly Jane Evelyn Cook was born on the 18th of June in 1965 to parents Marion and Walter. She also had a younger sister called Manny and a younger brother called Heath. They lived in Montreal originally, but then moved to Standard, Alberta, also in Canada, and had lived there for 3 years at the time of her death. Standard was like a small farming community when Kelly lived there, and it was very small. Like I said, less than 400 people lived in that area at the time. And when the family moved there, they settled in really well. Kelly was very popular at school. She had really good grades. And she just, I don't know, she was just a lovely young woman enjoying her life. She loved things like figure skating. She would often, her and her sister would often go out and babysit for people around the town, you know. They had settled in really, really well, and Kelly was just a normal young teenager. She was very clever. She had dreams of becoming a lawyer one day. She just knew what she wanted to do in life and, I don't know, just went for it. But again, she was a very social girl. She was very polite to her elders and respected them. And, you know, a lot of people knew of her because a lot of people would have her babysit their children. And it seemed to be quite a safe area to do that in. The town was small. People sort of seemingly knew everyone. And, you know, yes, okay, she was 15 at the time, but she did like her dues on people. She would sort of ask around to see whether people knew of this person that she was going to babysit for or whatever. And then she would go. So she was pretty responsible as well. So on the 22nd of April in 1981, it was a Wednesday, Kelly had gotten up and she was getting ready for school. She got a phone call, the household got a phone call at 8:20 a.m. Kelly answered that phone, but nobody was on the other end. She put the phone down and then the phone rang again. She answered it again, and this time a man spoke down the phone. He had asked if Kelly would babysit for him. You know, she was very well known for it in the area, and she was really good at it as well. She acted older than she was. She was very wise, thoughtful, and again, just very responsible and respectful, and just generally really trustworthy. So, you know, if people wanted a babysitter, Kelly was the one to go to. This call was different though, because she received it from someone she didn't know. This man told Kelly he was called Ben Christensen, I think. And he said that he needed somebody to babysit for him tonight. One of Kelly's friends, who I believe he had asked initially to babysit for him, she wasn't available. And so she actually gave him Kelly's number and told him about Kelly instead. After he had said to her, you know, like, do you know anybody else that can do it? And so she gave him Kelly's number. Kelly at first was really unsure because she did not know this man. So she probably agreed to it, but figured like she'd ask around about him. So the plan was he would pick her up at 8:30 and it would be until midnight, and then obviously she would go home. So she goes to school and she starts asking around about this bill. Now the thing is that name in that area was quite a popular name at the time. Because the name was common and not popular, common is what I meant. Because the name was common, it meant that when she's asking around about him, people are saying that they've heard of him because, you know, they have heard that name before and they think that this person is okay. She decided that she would go ahead and babysit for him. Her family didn't know him. Her close friends didn't really know him, but again, people she asked around school and things like that had heard of him. So you're just thinking that it'll be fine. At 8:30 p.m. that night, a cream-coloured sort of big North American car pulls up outside. This man waits in his car as Kelly waves goodbye to her parents. He never got out of the car once, and as previously agreed with all babysitting jobs with her sister and herself, Kelly agreed that she would ring her parents when she got there to let them know she got there safe. That is what she always did. That is what her parents expected of her, and that is what she was saying that she was going to do again. But that call never came. So obviously, her mum and dad are at home waiting for Kelly to ring them to tell them that she got there safe. And when she didn't call, they got worried. They let a little bit of time go past because you don't know, you know, how long it has taken for him to get there. Maybe he is, I don't know, picking up something on the way home, some snacks for her, something for the kids to eat. Who actually knows? But maybe he stopped off, maybe he needed gas. Anything could have happened to sort of delay the journey. And they didn't know where he lived. So you're thinking, give them a bit of time to get there at least, and then, you know, see what's what. The more the time passes, the more worried they get. Like, her mum calls around town and asks if anyone knows this man, and nobody does. And so they call the police, report their daughter was missing, and they go out looking for her. The problem is that no one knew where Kelly was. They didn't know where this house of this man was, and so they just went out looking. That was the best that they could do. It was nighttime at this point. It was dark. It was really difficult. They didn't really have any information, and so they brought in helicopters. They were asking people, as I've said, it's a farming sort of area. They were asking people to check their farmhouses, just to check anywhere that they could to see whether Kelly had ended up there. There was a huge scale search going on. Within a couple of hours of Kelly getting into this man's car, 350 police officers had searched a 1,250 square mile area for Kelly. And not only was that on foot, it was on horseback, in sort of all-terrain vehicles, in the helicopters I've already mentioned. They were just so, I don't know, on the ball looking for her. Police, the more they looked into it, the more they began to think that this man, Bill Christensen, again, Christensen was a common name around the area, that he had known that, and he had given a false name basically to appear more trustworthy, to enable him to lure somebody into his car. Police searched absolutely everywhere. Days turned into weeks, which turned into months, and they just were still no closer to finding anything. They did appeals on the TV and things like that, and this is when a call did actually come through. An operator rang the police to say that on the night of Kelly's disappearance, they had received a call. It was about 10 to 10:30 p.m. and the call came from a Husa, which is about 20 minutes away from Kelly's home. The operator told the police that she had heard a girl screaming down the phone, and it was literally so loud that it pierced her ears, and she actually had to physically take the headset off her head because that's just how loud it was. And who knows, I'm not saying that that was Kelly, but it could have been. It was the day that she went missing. It was 2 hours after she'd gone missing. You know, it could be coincidental, or it could have actually been Kelly. Who actually knows at this point? Another tip then came in of this dark-haired man that had been seen at this station. Not only had he been seen at a service station, he'd been seen at Strathmore Hotel Bar and a local co-op grocery store. People remembered seeing him because they had not seen him before. Again, this town was small. A lot of people knew a lot of people. And so, because they hadn't seen him before, they believed that he was new to town, so they remembered him. The man asked the service manager if he could make a call inside the store, because the payphone outside wasn't actually in working order at the time. The service station manager actually overheard this conversation, and the man was talking about babysitting. So it is really highly believed that this was probably the man that had taken Kelly. The manager was asked to describe the man, and they said, "To me, he looks like a farmer. I don't remember him wearing a hat, but he was rude." And a lot of people around the area also described him pretty much in a very similar manner. Everyone who came across this man described him as arrogant and rude, basically. The manager also went on to say that he was clean shaven, dark hair, possibly curly, but not grey. And of course, police did a sketch of that, which I will pull up now. And this was done off the service station manager and the other people that had seen him. He was described to be around 5'10", medium build, between 30 to 45 years old. When police released that sketch, they received a massive amount of tips, but unfortunately none of them led to any information to, you know, discovering what happened to Kelly. So they looked for Kelly, they just didn't find anything, unfortunately. That was until a couple of months later. On the 28th of June in 1981, a few boys that were cycling around this irrigation canal near a reservoir came across a body. This was 2.5 hours away from Kelly's home, and basically there had been a drought in the area. The water levels were very low, and as one of the boys drove past, they saw a body lying face down, sort of on the shore. This body was taken in for autopsy, and It was very decomposed at that point. They had to use dental records to identify, and they did identify the body as Kelly's. Kelly was found fully clothed. Her body had been tied around with rope and weighed down with 2 cinder blocks by her side. There were actually 3 ropes around her body, 1 around her shoulders, 1 around her hips, and 1 around her ankles. So basically it was believed that whoever had done this had tried to make sure that her body would never be found. They weighed it down, they put it in the water, and it probably wouldn't have been found for a while if those water levels hadn't dropped. Because, again, when her body was pretty decomposed, it had been in the water for quite a while, they couldn't really pinpoint her point of death, I don't believe. It is believed that she possibly died of asphyxia, and they didn't really find any evidence of sexual assault. Obviously, her family was informed, and they were just devastated by the news. Like, she literally went out babysitting. She'd done it so many times before, and then, you know, she just never came home, and it's just so heartbreaking. And you would think at this point, right, well, they found her body, then hopefully it will lead them somewhere. Hopefully they will find the monster that did this, but it didn't. It didn't bring in any new leads. It just, I don't know, they didn't find anything from it, unfortunately. The police asked for help off the FBI to try and create a profile of the killer, and despite questioning over 2,000 men, widening their search area, they just found nothing. Nothing of value anyway. So police believe that whoever abducted Kelly that night, they had planned the entire crime. They had given her a false name, knowing that that name was trusted in the area and would probably get sort of a good response back. And that would be, babysitting would be a likely law to be able to get somebody into his car. There were a few girls that did it, and it was found out that he had actually attempted to do it to another girl before that, which was the one who had given him Kelly's number. Apparently he knew her full name, so she was probably his first target. And then because she wasn't available, he asked if she knew anyone else, and then that is when they said Kelly. And then Kelly was then his target. Apparently the original girl had received the call off this bill 4 days before Kelly had received the call. And again, police did everything they could. They hunted down every lead. They looked into everything, every tip. Over 2,200 suspects by 1990, and it didn't lead them any closer to finding Kelly's killer. But despite all the tips that came in over the years and all of the investigation, the huge search that they did for Kelly, they just found nothing. Her case is still open, and her family are still waiting for that fateful day where they may find out who did this to their little girl, their sister, and that somebody out there knows something and will come forward with information. As of yet, no arrests have been made in Kelly's case. There's also a $100,000 reward from the Village of Standard for any information leading to the arrest and conviction of Kelly's murderer. Please, if you do have any information on this case, please contact the relevant authorities, Crime Stoppers, just anyone. If you have anything, no matter how small you may think it is, it could be like the key to cracking this case and finding out who killed Kelly. She was literally 15 years old. She went out babysitting and just never came back. And my heart just breaks for the family who just thought they lived in such a safe area and their kids would go out babysitting and no big deal. And she was murdered. It's just so tragic. But yeah, Kelly's case to this day remains unsolved. And that is the end of it. If you guys have enjoyed this video, give me a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for similar content. Anyway, that's all I have today on the case of Kelly Cook. Please, if you have any information, do come forward with it. And until next time, bye.